My dear friends, my fellow leftists and progressives, I want to do my part in helping you to take back our country and win future elections. You must pay attention while I explain to you what you are doing wrong. First and most importantly, we need to expand our investment into identity politics. The only way to beat our enemy in hotly contested races is not to split their ranks, but to divide our own. We must make an aggressive reassessment in the hierarchy of privilege. In a new society based not on logic, facts, or reason, but totally on how we feel, what we propose is a reversal of prior privileges to establish a new order based on non-meritorious entitlement and equality of outcome. Cis-het white men form the base of this new pyramid, while disabled, transgendered people of color at the top, as they should be. There will be a lot of jostling and stepping on toes, sorry to sound ableist to those missing feet, and a lot of infighting and backstabbing to see who fills in near the top of this new political structure. White human beings born as women, I fear, are out of luck, since real women, i.e. those incorrectly assigned the gender of male at birth, but are indeed women because they say so, will now replace you and have already formed a special subcommittee to explain to you what it actually means to be a woman. They work so hard at it, so it's only correct. Politically, that is. Have no fear, dear naturally born ladies. You can climb a few rungs up the ladder by copying your betters and declare yourself men. Unfortunately, you will lose more status than gain, since you now have male privilege. All those who have had superior opportunities in life because your ancestors created and participated in the systematic oppression of minorities and people of color will stand aside and have no say in the future of our party. Only those deemed by themselves to be of the marginalized classes will have a say in determining this new class structure. But leading the charge will be upper middle class white female college educated people, since they are quite expert and accustomed to thinking and speaking for those very marginalized groups. Now I'm talking to you, cis-het white men who have had thousands of years of running everything. If you have difficulty understanding and, more importantly, following the dictates of your betters, you will be correctly identified as racist, misogynist, sexist, and possibly homophobic. This neatly dovetails into the next winning strategy. In our quest for ideological purity, we must create new definitions for ugly words like racism, which are currently problematic. Don't be caught off guard in a debate with a racist who thinks he's clever and starts using non-postmodernist definitions of racism and other words. Use this opportunity to teach them that racism isn't about one race discriminating against another. That's ridiculous. And that's not fair to people of color, along with Muslims, who, as we know, are incapable of being racist. We must emphasize the inherent power structure that needs to be in place for racism to occur. Be patient with those needing re-education, since they learn their vocabulary in schools based on institutional patriarchy that reinforced the incorrect white male narrative for millennia. But don't be too patient. When someone so much as disagrees with even an insignificant point you are enforcing, this transgressor must be called out as alt-right. Before I can continue, I am compelled to apologize for my transphobic use of trans in the word transgressor. The use of the word might hurt the feelings of a far too marginalized group of people, having used trans as part of a negative word. For that serious lapse in correctness, I have consulted with several transgendered individuals to give this article validity. I've also reached out to a number of people of color to get permission to momentarily place the trans community in a slightly greater oppressed status. I think I've covered all my bases, which is also a big mistake, because using a sporting metaphor, I might create an unsafe environment for disabled people who are unjustly kept from participating in them, along with all women who do not have the same opportunities as men in this field, barring, of course, real women with penises that might have played sports while they were men. The point is, we need to extend the reach of blame to incorporate more social justice offenders. Conservatives and Republicans alone do not make up a majority of the oppressing population. Generously calling out all of your natural progressive allies with insulting or degrading epithets will endear them to the cause. If someone says they voted for Bernie Sanders last year, call them out on the carpet for their obvious misogyny and ask them why they hate women. If they voted for Hillary Clinton, inquire why they didn't vote for a person of color and proudly point out their privilege, since obviously they are to blame for less marginalized people who are underrepresented in politics. Dismissively wave them away when they pretend to use logic and try to be reasonable in their defense of the indefensible. We have to expand the victim class by pointing out more victim culture that they are required to be aware of. You must shame all those on your side for not doing enough to create a space for a marginalized community. Remind them that if they occupy the lowest base of the victim hierarchy, they need to remove themselves from discourse, allowing their betters to express their oppression. Unless you are a white college-educated woman, then it's okay to speak for the marginalized. You do know how they think as one monolithic group. To summarize, we should endeavor to make it known that most of the population, including those that would vote with us, are by nature racist, misogynist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic, transphobic, and ableist. And by doing so, they can and will be in a better position to acknowledge their privilege and be in a more advantageous place to spread the blame from, and therefore increasing our base of potential voters. Which leads us to our next subject, potential voters. Teach your fellow progressives how marginalized members of our community are unable to accomplish basic tasks such as registering to vote. They are not as accomplished as middle, upper class, college educated white women on technological devices like computers and smartphones, so will be disadvantaged when the alt-right tries to keep them from voting. People of color will not be able to use these modern gadgets that would enable them to apply online for a picture ID. You, of course, are able to do these things because of your white privilege. Remember, they do not have white privilege and are incapable of performing mundane and routine tasks. At the university level, we must increase our gender studies programs. This will help us to change more minds before they are exposed to alternate realities of the ugly real world. We must push for more feminists in government and continue the struggle for social justice along with our natural allies, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Privileged white people who are on occasion required to not attend any BLM meetings, please comply with your allies. While constantly pointing out white privilege to everyone, we cannot overlook the specter of toxic masculinity. In a perfect non-binary gender-fluid world, rooting out maleness is essential. Transgender women are already busy doing their part in removing maleness, one woman's penis at a time. In the near future, with many allies giving puberty-blocking drugs to their children, we should have a reduced male population someday, and with it, removing obstacles to progress. One of the biggest problems we face in these fluid times is too much free speech. We need to organize and prevent speakers who espouse wrongthink from giving talks, especially at universities, which is the worst place to have our ideas challenged. In particular, evil atheists that criticize Islam. No need to worry about bashing Christianity. That's fine. On the other hand, those strident new atheists picking apart Islam, the religion of peace, should be silenced for their hate speech. Not agreeing with Islam is racist. All 1.5 billion or so of these specially marginalized people deserve respect, and it is truly racist to expect them to earn it. Sexism and misogyny do not exist in Islam because it is their culture. So don't buy into those lies about Muslim men mistreating their women. Muslim women wearing hijabs or burqas is obviously their choice, and besides, it helps them express their freedom. So, ladies, show solidarity and wear a hijab for freedom. Another point not covered enough in the media is the fact that women can free themselves of their repressive, colonialist, sexist expectations of their appearance by wearing hijab. So it stands to reason that Islam is the most feminist religion there is. Judaism is no longer considered a protected class because they are by default anti-BDS and therefore Zionist racist. Although us progressives are the driving moral force for peace and understanding, we do encourage you to ferret out the alt-right pepes, and when you find them, well, you know, give them what they deserve. No more Mr. or Mrs. Nice Guy, I say. This is a call to action. We cannot risk any new strategies that are critical of our past ones. We need to double down on the tried and true methods that worked for us in 2016. It is a massive mistake to reach out to those who disagree with us. Meeting someone halfway is always wrong. Remember our mantra, no argument to moderation. If you are right and everyone else is wrong, there is no advantage to hearing other points of view. It is a waste of time and you may be tempted to compromise your highly ingrained reality. What's at stake? More Supreme Court appointments, destroying our educational system, eroding environmental regulations, more tax breaks for the wealthy on the backs of the middle class, repeal of Obamacare, corruption at every level of government, lack of access for trans people in bathrooms, the religious right interfering with our freedom to choose our own genders, and more importantly, having Putin's puppet sitting in the White House. So, it is too risky to reflect on past losses and being critical of our mistakes. We must forge ahead with stronger emphasis on identitarian positions that cover a wider range of people, even at the risk of alienating more people than we did in 2016. You have to stand on conviction, and ours is based on something those monsters can never understand: our feelings, something that always trumps facts. Instead of putting an emphasis on what we have in common, we need to focus on our differences, why we are different from each other. This is more important. Get out there and do your part. We need you.